So good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Amber. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderfully. What about you?
Doing well. I always feel like these fall cloudy days are like quintessential, but also like a little bit sad. So I'm feeling like that seasonal sadness, I guess, but just happy to be here with you, honestly, talking about vocal health because it's something I'm super passionate about. So
Yes.
thanks
Well,
for having me.
oh my gosh, I'm thrilled to have you. And you and I have that in common. One, I wasn't going to say sad, though. You hit the nail on the head, my friend. But I was going to say, like, demotivating.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's like I can
Yeah.
have a list a mile long, and on days like this, I just want like cozy clothing, warm beverage, some kind of
Yes.
a surface to curl up on. But
Yeah.
but I would pass all that up, Sarah, for us to chat about vocal health.
I know.
I was saying briefly before you jumped on, and I so appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah.
And I thought of it just because you shared this great video. I guess it's been a couple weeks ago, just about kind of like, hey, here are some of the tools that are really helpful to me. And, I preach vocal health all day, every day to anybody I work with and anyone who will listen. And I think it's good, though, to hear it from an artist who is walking the walk. So I will talk about how if you don't have vocal health, you can have the greatest technique, but you're not going to be able to access it. Or if you're going to go on tour, you need your voice to be there for you consistently, day in and day out. So I would love to stop talking. Part of the vocal health is taking vocal breaks and rests. And I'd love it. You can jump in wherever you'd like, but I'd love to just kind of hear your kind of experience, journey, tips, all that great stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, I think one of the things that I have kind of discovered about taking care of my voice in the last couple of years is that it really is like being an athlete. Like you have to approach it with this mentality of it takes work, it takes effort. It's not just as easy as getting up in the morning and being able to sing like I used to, when I was like back in my teens, you know what I mean? Like it was super easy. But when you're performing at such a high level, when you're doing something daily, it really takes a toll on you. And a couple of years ago, when I first started coming to you, I remember just struggling with my voice, struggling with consistency, like having a good voice consistently. And I remember you just kind of like giving me a few tools right off the bat when we first met, like vocal warm-ups, vocal cool downs. I had never in my life heard of a cool down, literally never heard of that before. And even the way that you described, like, yeah, your voice is like your vocal folds are this big and they're a muscle,
Even smaller,
you can barely see them. And to think about, to think about the fact that like, that's what you're taking care of. And it's a muscle. And just like when you're working out, you need to warm up your muscles and cool down your muscles. Otherwise they'll freeze up. And it's just such basic information, but it's something that me as a vocalist, as a professional vocalist, I was never taught. I did go to, I have a degree in vocal performance. And so I definitely, we've talked about this before, I'm classically trained, but it's just a totally different way of thinking about it when you're singing on a mic, when you have in-ears, when you're doing it day in and day out. And so I don't know. I feel like you really gave me the tools to start with, and then have always just been like, yeah, you should try vocal steaming. You should try the vocal mist. You should try all these things. And it has changed the game for me. I just feel so much healthier. I feel like I actually have the ability to share my voice consistently. And it feels strong and it feels healthy, and I know how to take care of it. And I feel like in control, if that makes sense, as opposed to before I just felt like, I don't know what I'm going to have today, but now I have the tools to like navigate when I'm feeling super dry or when it's really dry, like doing a vocal steam or having the vocal mist with me. And like just implementing some really practical things that I can do on the road, at home, anywhere really. So it's been really, really helpful, and it's been a game changer for me.
Well, well, first of all, I'm so thrilled to hear that, and thank you for saying all that. I did not get you on so you could say, "Oh, Amber," but
No,
I'll take it, sister. So thank you so much. But you said so many great things to unpack in that.
Yeah.
And so, as far as, I guess, my first one, because there's so many that I get like an excitable dog, like, ooh, 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 this. But the first one you said is that vocal cool down, what a game changer that is. And I know for people who I haven't worked with, or who haven't worked with somebody where that kind of voice science, vocal health piece is the foundation of everything that they do, they probably haven't heard of a vocal cool down either. I hadn't heard of it. I went to school for voice and been a singer forever. And it wasn't until I started to go through my journey of learning more about vocal health and the function and science and all of that, I learned how important it is and what a game changer it can be. Do you mind sharing a little bit just kind of about what that is and sort of maybe just a little glimpse of what yours might look like?
Yeah. So what I do is normally right after a show, well, sometimes I'll hang out at the merch table for a little bit and talk to people and meet people. But every single time, for about 10 or 15 minutes after I'm done with all of that, I'll do lip trills, like, or some whatever my warm-ups were, like I'll rotate through some of those. So something that's super easy and light, but is still using my voice. So, I mean, I can do an example of it on here if you would like.
Sure.
But lip trills, like in fifths, up and down the scale. I'll do that. A lot of times I love the exercise of, like a slack jaw, the bed. You look like a ridiculous babbling baby, but it's like bed. This idea of like super loose jaw, super loose tongue, something that like literally just stretches out your entire neck. Anything like that in that area, I'll do for about 10 to 15 minutes post show. And honestly, I kid you not, when I am touring, like day in and day out, when I'm doing like a consecutive day tour, that has changed it for me. It's made my voice last the entire time that I'm on the road. And that was not the way that it was for many, many years. And so I am convinced that is the thing that has changed it more than any of the tools that I showed in that reel that we talked about earlier. I feel like the consistent vocal warm up and cool down has just changed the game for me, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're completely right, and they've done studies to show that a consistent warm up, and really more than anything, the warm up, most of us know about, and we love the warm up because it makes us feel better and sound better, like right then.
Yeah.
So you get that great payoff.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, even if they know about the cool down, are like, I mean, you don't get the payoff right away per se, but when they like testing, it's the longevity of the voice and long-term health. So for sure, when you're going to have to sing every day, it's the biggest factor in maintaining that. And I kind of tell people, I'm sure this is what I told you, but it's like the warm-up is like taking this instrument that we have with us all the time, getting it ready for more athletic activity. So we're getting stretching those muscles out. And then we're working at this heightened activity. And then all we're going to do, so you kind of work from speaking range to a broad prepare to sing. And it's exactly what you said. We're going to take that, those muscles that have been doing that higher level activity, and we're going to bring them from a broader range right back to speaking. And because we don't have a case to like put them in and just leave it on the bus and off you go.
Yeah.
This is our case. Yeah.
It's so true.
I think that is, that's awesome and hugely, just important to point out. The other thing I love that you said is how you pointed out that you were a voice major, you're trained in voice, but yet vocal health wasn't really a big focus.
Yeah, which is weird to think about.
Yes, it is. Yeah, doesn't mean a wonderful program. That's kind of the term.
Yeah. I mean, I've always warmed up. I guess I've always had that as a part of, you know, my vocal coaching, or not vocal coaching, like my voice lessons is what I would call it, versus vocal coaching now. But you're so right. Like it wasn't really focused on when I was in college. Like they didn't really talk about how even different foods affect the way that your voice feels, different things that you drink, like caffeine or alcohol. Oh my gosh, I can't drink a lick of alcohol when I'm singing. Some people can though. That's the weird thing is like, I think when it comes to diet, sometimes you could probably talk more about this than I can scientifically, but what works for some people doesn't work for other people. And like, that's kind of the beauty of getting to know your voice and spending time getting to know your voice and kind of experimenting with some things, maybe not when you're going to do a show, but like figuring out, okay, I really can't have orange juice, or I really can't drink wine. You know what I mean? But there's some people who are like, I can drink an entire glass of milk and sing and I'm totally fine. So like, you know, I do think in general, I think it's just this whole idea of getting to know your instrument, your voice, and knowing it in and out. And like we've talked about before, like sometimes I'll schedule a lesson with you just because I'm like, I'm having a really difficult time singing this one portion of the song and it blows out my voice every time. And I want to figure out how to approach it. Like learning how to take this thing seriously, because we're professionals. We're professional singers, and it deserves attention and it deserves you to invest in it. And yeah, I just think that that's super important, and it's not something that a lot of people talk about, and it's something now that I'm realizing I'm really passionate about this, and I want to advocate for other singers to do the same, and to speak up for themselves and advocate for themselves and learn their voice and take it seriously, you know?
Yeah, you again just dropped so many golden vocal nuggets there, Sarah. I'm like, yeah, and that was the next thing I was going to go to, is what you had said before, and you just said it again so beautifully. It's all about knowing your voice. And I loved too that you said you really developing the tools for your voice, because you're exactly right. And especially when it's like, you know, in our online society. So an Instagram reel, a clip on TikTok, which, you know, is wonderful. It's a great way to get information, but people want hard and fast answers and rules. Like, can I have milk or can I not have milk?
Yeah.
Whereas, I don't know, can you have milk? Like, how do you feel when you drink it? Because you're right. I mean, I have some singers who are like frozen smoothie filled with dairy right before they sing, and their voice is just like gorgeous. And
wow.
Personally, if I have that, it's Gunky City. And I don't really Gunky City, or if just because I was trained so long, I mentally am like, now I'm gunky. Like, because that's such a big part too. But you totally hit the nail on the head. It's, I think, the hugely important part to, like you said, feel like you are in control of your voice, not like it's in control of you.
Yeah. Which
is such a tough thing when you're on tour, when you get up to sing as a professional high-level singer, and you're like, I don't know, is it going to be a great day? Like an okay day? Who knows?
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly what you said. It's really getting to learn your voice and developing the tools for your voice.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and this is the thing I want to say too, and I'm going to make a reel about this soon, because I know for some people they can't afford a ton of lessons, or they can't afford some of these tools, and I get that. I understand that, because musicians, you know, are what we make is a little all over the place. So I'm not trying to be like, spend all this money, but I do think that there's tons of resources online. It's just, there's no excuse to not take care of your voice. Like, even if it's just hydrating, like we haven't even talked about this. Like you've told me so many times, external hydration is great, but internal hydration is even more important. So like literally drinking as much water as you can, or doing warm-ups is free. Like, you know, not going into a crowded bar before you know you're gonna have to sing the next day. Like things like that are free, you know? So I do think it's not just about spending a bunch of money too. It's also just about, again, taking care of your voice and knowing what those things are, and continuing to do that.
I mean, I just, next time somebody asks me to do a vocal health talk, I'm just going to be like, Sarah, are you free? No, because that's so, you said that, that's what, so I so appreciate you doing this, because to hear it again from not the voice nerd's perspective, I mean, I know, but from the artist's perspective, who's like, okay, I've implemented these things and it makes all the difference. And I think, again, you said something so great, which is the tools, which, you know, we can talk a little bit about, like a nebulizer or a steamer or those are wonderful. I would say, and it sounds like you're of the same, those are like delicious icing, but you can get your cake for $0. Yeah. And when people ask me, I don't think they actually want to hear the answers, because they're like, well, I just overall health to be better. What are some things I can start now? And I'm like, sleep.
Yes.
Get good sleep.
Yes.
Hydrate. Make sure you're drinking water. And it doesn't just have to be, we always say water, but liquid, you know, foods that have water, that your internal hydration level is good. The whole, you know, it's the pee clear thing. Then, you know, you're hydrated. But, you know, water, get good sleep. Like you said, don't scream and yell. And I was at an event in New Orleans this weekend, and it was a blast. But I was like, I was in a crowded place with unbelievable ambient noise, where you have to just scream for this person to hear you. And I knew I had a recording session on Monday. This was Saturday. So I thought, well, I have to be here. I was there for one of my, but I thought, I don't have to talk. And so I did until I got outside, because I knew I can't technique my way out of that. I'm going to have to push and then my voice is the best that it can be. So it's being mindful. And I love how you said you would never expect an athlete, right? Any other kind of athlete, put in any other professional athlete in any sport, and you would never expect them, or they would never expect to hit the club the night before, not sleep, roll out, and just start playing. They're not going to be the best. They're at risk of injury. But singers many times don't see themselves like that. And the fact is, they're working muscles. It's a motor learning activity. Yep.
And it's so true. I think sometimes also as artists, and I don't know if you can speak to this too, but you feel this pressure, especially I'm a Christian artist. So people are bringing me out to their churches and they're paying me all this money. And I feel all this pressure to like talk to every single person that wants to talk to me. But it is this balance of like, if I do that, I'm not going to have a voice for the next audience. Like I'm just not going to. And so it is this like, again, advocating for yourself and knowing your limits and knowing how to not push yourself too far. And I do think that that's really something that we have to like learn and advocate, like I keep saying, you know, but it is really hard. It's hard when you're like, I want to talk to everybody and I don't want to seem like a diva, or